Hi everyone, it's Natasha.
And Sonja.
We're back here in the program room at the North Grove for our second video in the series for our Handle with Care program. Before we move on to building block number 2, I'd like to touch base and see how people found the homework we gave you to work on for the self-care checklist from the first video. We talked about looking after yourself mentally, physically, and socially, and tasked you with looking at an area that you could pay some extra attention to, and then maybe something that you feel like you've been doing well for yourself. So I'm going to check in with Sonja. How did you find you did with the self-care checklist and the things that you thought you were doing well last week?
Well, my plan was to take better care of myself physically, and I still struggle with that, but I do feel I've made some strides. I have been drinking a little bit less caffeine and eating a little better. But what I found I really did do well this week was connecting with others and just kind of, taking some time throughout the day to touch base, and I really did find that helpful. How about you?
I said that I was going to try to take some breaks from social media, and it's kind of a double-edged sword for me, I think, a little bit, because it is also a way that you stay connected with people. So when we're trying to be distant physically, social media is a way for us to be connected. So I don't think I did 100% on that task, but I think I did a little bit better, or just monitoring how I was using it.
And I think that's the way it goes when we're doing any type of self-care or practicing anything in these next few videos. It's a work in progress. It's not going to all change overnight, and that's okay. I mean, I think we have to be realistic as to what our expectations are and just kind of keep moving forward.
And I think sometimes too, when you look at those 3 areas, sometimes looking after yourself physically might be the most important thing for you that week, because you may be noticing some things with your body physically that you're like, I need to take better care of myself. And other weeks, maybe your mental health isn't so great, so you're really needing to focus some extra attention on that. So we're going to go into building block number 2, and Sonja's going to kick that off for us.
So the key message for building block number 2, which is focusing on trust and attachment, is building a trusting relationship with children is one of the most important things parents and caregivers can do to promote the children's social and emotional development. What does a trusting relationship look like? So for me, it means it's warm, sensitive, and responsive. So as a parent, we're always thinking and trying to read what our children need from us. Trust also means that children know that they are loved and cared for, and that will always be there no matter what. So no matter what's going on in our lives, or kind of what our children may be displaying that week, behavioral-wise, that we're always there for them. So when we're thinking about what we want to do as parents, we want to really think about how are we responding to our children? Are we making eye contact with them on a regular basis? Often we can get distracted with our phones and social media and all the other things that's going on that our day passes and we realize we really haven't even looked at our children or made any sort of eye contact. What are our facial expressions conveying to our children? Are we open and responsive? A lot of times it's not just what we're saying, it's also what we're physically displaying in our bodies. What's our tone like? So when we're speaking to our children, are we conveying a tone of empathy and openness? Gentle touch. So again, have you shown your child any gentle touch this week? It could be a pat on the back, a hug, tousling their hair. So thinking about gentle touch, and then especially for little children, getting down on their eye level. So we're often coming at them from higher ground, I guess. So to really think about eye level as well, and to pay attention to all the ways that we're communicating with our children. That's really important as well. The thing that we really want to take note of is that while it's best to begin our attachment with our children in infancy, it's never too late. So you know what, you may think, I haven't done so well in that area. Maybe your children haven't been in your care, and that's okay. There's lots of time to kind of work on building that attachment with your children.
So when we think of our babies and we're thinking about trust, learning to trust for babies really happens at the very beginning. by constantly meeting your baby's needs and their basic needs. So their need for food, their need for love, their need for affection, and their need for safety. You are teaching them to trust you. Sometimes it may feel, as the parent of a baby, that you are just constantly doing caretaking activities. But those caretaking activities are really what shows our babies that they can trust us and that we're going to be there for them. So getting to know their hunger cues and feeding them when they're hungry shows them that they can count on us to be there. Knowing and understanding their cues and responding fast when they're sick, hurt, or afraid, when they're happy, all of those moments show our babies that they can depend on us to be there for them and that they can trust us. And that's really the foundation that we're building from that very young, early infant stage.
Then we get into the toddler years. So with the toddler years, not only are we meeting what their needs are physically, but we're also starting to get into our toddlers wanting to, explore and, take care of their own identity. So the toddler years are also full of challenges, and you'll come across a lot of challenges behaviorally, but it's really important, no matter what the behavior is for your child, that you acknowledge, that you love your child no matter what. So you can say to your child, you know what, I don't like what you did today, or I don't like this behavior, but I always love you. And that's incredibly important with toddlers. The other thing is that you want to be a home base for your toddlers and give them a place that they can freely go and explore, but also always come back to you. And that's really important during this time with toddlers. And then what I also would say is that if you say you're going to do something with your child, if you're looking at really building a trusting relationship with your child, is really try and make sure that you honor what you say you're going to do. Because it can be very disruptive if you say, okay, you know what, when I pick you up today, we're going to go to the playground, and then you don't follow through. Now, that being said, there are times when, you can't follow through with something, but you know what, tell your child, right?
And I think another time we see that a lot at the center is when parents drop their children off into the childcare room, and maybe it's their first time in the playroom. Maybe they've been away from us for a little bit. Maybe they're just going through a developmental stage where they feel a little more clingy or having a little bit of separation anxiety, and it's really tempting for the parent to sneak out of the room. And their child's entertained and occupied, so they sneak out and feel like their child maybe won't notice. We really try to say to them, go to them, even if they're happy and engaged with whatever they're doing. Let them know that you are leaving. Let them know that you'll be back, so that when you do leave and you do come back, they learn to trust you. And when my mom tells me she's leaving but she's going to be back, she means it. Yes. And then that helps to build that trusting relationship.
For sure. So those are some of the things that we would suggest that you work on with your toddlers to build that trusting relationship and the attachment. And then what about preschoolers, Tash? So
for preschoolers, trust is built through being present and being an active listener. So for me, this was sometimes a difficult task, especially if you're not so interested in the things that they want you to be an active listener in. So my youngest especially was very interested in Pokemon. I myself couldn't pronounce the names, I didn't understand it, but I really had to kind of fake that interest because it was important and interesting to him. So it was really important for me to put down my phone or delay making supper so that I paid some really good one-on-one attention to him and was really engaged, not just kind of looked engaged, but that he really felt that I was engaged. And it's important for them to know that if it's important to them, it's important to you too, and that you are an active part of it. So having a secure attachment promotes your child's ability also to manage and regulate their own emotions. Anybody who has had a toddler or preschooler knows that this is a difficult skill for them to learn, but it's also a skill that is very, very important, and that when children have difficulty handling those emotions, it can interfere with their ability to be curious, and we know that being curious is what helps our preschoolers and toddlers learn about the world around them, learn to make decisions.
Every week we're going to try and kind of end off with a challenge. Some people call it homework, but something that you can do with your child during the week. So what I did yesterday was I made this little postcard. It has my son's name on it, Jacob. I decorated the front. It's really just a piece of paper. So you can choose and use whatever you want to use. And what I did was on the back, I wrote a little note. And this one just says, Dear Jacob, you have been working hard to get ready for school and out the door on time every day. You are doing great. Keep it up. Love, Mom. It's important that we give feedback to our children on a regular basis, either verbally or physically, as in this postcard, so that they know that you notice the things that they're doing and that you appreciate the things that they're doing. So what we would ask you to do this week is to think about, for your child, maybe making something like this. If you were here at the center with us, we would probably do it as a group and get you to mail it to them. But you know what, if you can't afford the stamp, or you'd rather just make it for them and leave it on their pillow or on the fridge, and then read it to them and put it up somewhere where they can see it, because it's really nice to get, everybody likes to get positive feedback. And sometimes it's really hard to remember how important it is. We always say you want to praise the behavior that you want to see in the future, not focus on the negative. So thinking of something like this, my son is 9, so you know what, I may do this for him or I may do something else. But as our children do get older, what are some other ways, like for you, Tash, your kids are getting older, what would you do?
When I think of my kids in ways that I try to kind of acknowledge them and let them know that they're important, I sometimes rely on text messages. So because they are older, we're often not together a lot, especially during the day. And it's really easy, I think, to forget to do some of those kind of things. So for me, now that they both have cell phones, I like to try to take advantage of that and just saying, I just wanted to let you know I really appreciated that you did this for me this morning. I just wanted to let you know I really appreciated the way you handled the disagreement you had with your brother. So letting them know that, you know, if you can't be together, to kind of give them some of that positive, through a text message is a great way for an older child. Sometimes it could be a note in their lunchbox too, something to just kind of surprise them.
So that is our building block for the week. And what I'm going to do is read a quick summary for you. So the summary says that everyone needs to feel loved and accepted for who they are and just as they are. When you feel loved and cared for, no matter what, we can grow and learn to our full potential. So on the bottom it says, take some time today to just be with your child in your life. Snuggle, listen, hold hands, read, watch the clouds, laugh. You are making an investment in your relationship, which will have so many payoffs for years to come.
And something to remember too is that there are no perfect parents or perfect caregivers, that we are all really just striving to do our best, and that's what really matters. You know, every day, thankfully, we get the opportunity to start again tomorrow. So if you feel like you didn't do a great job at something today as a parent, you know, to not let that kind of eat away at you, to realize that some days we're not at our best, some days our children aren't at their best, and that tomorrow all we can do is strive to have a better day, and that developing that attachment relationship does take time, and it doesn't happen overnight. And certain stages with our children are more difficult than others. Some of them are more physically exhausting and some of them are more mentally exhausting, and that sometimes that mental and physical exhaustion can really wear at you, and you might not be feeling your best as a parent, and that's okay.
Thanks for joining us today, everybody, for our second video. We will be back next week with the second building block of the Handle with Care program. Thanks.
See you then.